When should I have this conversation with her? Should I plan it out or something? Hey, gentlemen, Jeff Allen here with Great Men Move Mountains. Just read a question on the forum that was posted today that has to deal with, man, I really want to have this conversation with her. Do I prick the boil? Do I let her know, hey, my expectations are higher? Do I push her for more movement? It seems to me that I'm doing all this work, or at least it feels to me that I'm doing all this work, and it seems like she's not doing any, or things aren't progressing. Months ago, she said she wanted space, and things aren't coming. So what do I do? I'm getting impatient. What do I do? Well, one thing that really jumped out at me was, what's pricking the boil mean? And why haven't you been already having that type of conversation, that gist of conversation? And pricking the boil is saying your values, what you want, what your boundaries are. I'm assuming that's what pricking the boil means. And why haven't you been having that kind of conversation already? If pricking the boil means to basically start a fight and in some way tell her, like, you're wrong, you're not doing enough, you need to change, or if you're going to tell her to, F off, well, pricking the boil is probably not a good idea. I mean, you could just go to your attorney right now and handle that in a better way, honestly. So let's just throw prick the boil out the window. And it's, why haven't you been already having a conversation about your boundaries, your wants, and what you're not happy with in the relationship? And then I realized, I've never made a video on a check-in conversation around relationship. Now, we say as men, you don't want to go to her to talk about the relationship. You don't want to randomly come up to her at any point in the day and, well, hey, tell me how are things going? The hummingbird questions, right? How are you feeling now about the relationship? I know X number of days ago you said, basically, you don't want anything to do with me. Like, I want space. I don't know where I'm at. I'm in love with you. I'm not, I love you, but I'm not in love. Like, okay, what are you feeling now? Isn't going to work out. Okay, let me just throw that out there. Hey, what's going on now? Can we talk about the same dead fucking horse you talked about? Okay, just throw that. No, all right. However, you do want to plan what I call them with my fiance, what she and I call them, are State of the Union conversations. Once a month, I recommend, is a really good time frame to plan a coffee date, go have tea, go for a walk on a Sunday morning. Usually a morning is a great idea. It's not a date. It's a relationship coffee. It's a relationship check-in. Once a month, you sit down and here's what you do. You intentionally say things that you love about what's going on in the relationship. Number one, it's very positively focused. This is what I appreciate, that it's something that I noticed that you did that I hadn't had a chance to say. I love how, I saw that the dog threw up on the carpet, and I noticed that you went ahead and took care of that. You didn't even say that. That was so helpful in our household, and it shows me that you will just grab a hold of things and take care of them, and you may not have even thought about that, but I noticed that it was really thoughtful and kind, and I appreciate that, and you weren't mad at the dog about it, right? Sometimes I get upset when the dog pukes, and I don't always handle it well, and you handled it really well, and I appreciate that, right? An example of a positive. You don't have to say something overtly sexual. It's not like that. It's about a relationship. Once a month, sit down. Then you're going to share one thing at the most, if you feel called, that is something that you'd like to put on the table, something that you're not really sure how you feel about, or something that concerns you about the relationship. Okay? Lots of positive, one concern or challenge if you like. You don't always have to. This isn't a sit down and bitch session. And so you chat about that with her. Hey, I'd like us to start to have a State of the Union once a month relationship coffee. We're going to sit down where it's mostly positive, and then we can share one thing that concerns us. I do have, if you're curious, I do have one thing on my mind that I'm going to bring up at that conversation. Not a big deal, but it's really important to me that we have open, honest communication, and that we share our lives together and grow together. And I think having a State of the Union once a month is a good way to do that. I'd like to do that. Are you open this Sunday morning for coffee? Is that cool? That's how you open the conversation. Okay, that's how you open. I'd like to do this for us, for our relationship. So I'm considering anything that you have as well, of course. And yes, I have one thing in my mind. If you if you want me to share it before that, come to me and ask me. Otherwise, I'll just, I'll share that when we have coffee. And I also have some other, positive things in my pocket too, right? However the conversation goes for you, that's how you open it up. I believe every relationship should have something like that. That way it's not a surprise if you or she wants to bring up a challenge. It can be saved for that conversation. And you're going to bring up one thing. This is not a bitch session. You're going to have multiple positives, one thing that's a challenge. All right? Now, here, guys, if you're months in to a standstill, purgatory, she says, I'm not sure. That's, hey, by the way, 2015, I sat next to a woman, my now ex, who in therapy said, I'm not sure about him every week for 5 months. Okay, I didn't know this work before. This work I've been focused on for the past 4 years. I'm a different man. I would have handled that completely differently. But back then it was, okay, totally passive. I guess, I don't know, maybe I need to do more for her, all the nice guy shit, okay? That doesn't work. It doesn't work. It doesn't please her. You feel like an ass. You feel like you're the one that's the problem because of the way, I'm not sure about him. Just like, what? There's two of us here. There's also the relation. That's how I felt. Like, how? So, like many of you, I felt like the bad guy. And a lot of that was my fault. I put myself into the frame of being passive, not leading, not defining my boundaries in a positive, calm, confident way, not saying what I wanted in relationship. And then had those State of the Union conversations, the way this is going is not okay. So here's these positives: are being good co-parents. I'm giving you the space that you want, correct, right? If I'm not, this is the time to tell me. Well, no, actually, and she may share some shit with you that she hasn't before because of the framing of this State of the Union conversation. Now, you don't go in, gonna prick the boil and dump your shit either, okay? You're going to have a structured, planned conversation, meaning it's a certain time, it's a certain day. We don't bring up relationship otherwise, but that is when we do. Hopefully, a lot of positive. If there's not a lot of positive, bring one challenge. You need to do that in an adult, mature way, guys. If you're not already doing that, when do you think it's going to happen? Do you think that she's just going to come? I was doing jumping jacks at the gym and my titty, and I just thought of you. And you know what? I want everything beautiful the way it was and blah, 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 and everything is fixed. Okay, we don't ever have to talk about this again. Like, is that what you think is going to happen? Like magical titties and then we don't have to talk about this again? Is that what's like, okay, I love you guys. All right, I love you. Wake the fuck up. Okay, that's not what I'm sorry. This is me talking to myself 4+ years ago now too. Wake the fuck up, bro. Just going to therapy every week, sitting there passive, not leading, not defining, that's not going to do it. It's not going to do it. You know all the other work that you have to do to define who you are, follow your purpose, hit the gym. Like, we can talk about that in another video. This one is about have a once a month State of the Union relationship conversation with your woman. Regardless of how good or not good things are going, you should be having that once a month. Bring as many positives as you can. This is practice for your high, HDM man, stay in your lane status here, because there's probably going to be some triggering stuff that comes up. You're not trying to fix anything in the conversation. You're just listening to each other, hopefully acknowledging the positives and acknowledging the challenge of the other person without trying to fix it. Okay, then you go away, you think, you write, you post on the forum, you read about it, you look up an article if you want, you look up one of Steve's videos, you do a Google search. There's a lot of tools out there. There's a lot of tools. Don't try to fix it in the conversation. But you do need to present what you're not happy with. If you're not happy being in limbo land 5 months later, being made the bad guy, you've got to start speaking up for yourself, okay, in a calm, confident way. Start making a plan of what you're going to do here. What are you going to do? Are you going to live like this ongoing? Are you going to ask for some help? What's the next step? Well, if for this video, the next step is, hey, I'd love to start having a once a month relationship conversation that's mostly positive and that also we can bring a challenge to if we feel necessary. Because we got to move that mountain in our life to be able to have that mature, open communication with this woman or the next woman that we're with. Talk to you guys soon.
I'ma tell you about a woman whose heart is sunshine, whose body burned hot. I'ma tell you about a woman who's cold as tundra, with some frozen eyes. I can tell by the way she moves that she cares, and it's lovely too.